Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of SPL Express. We've had so much of action from the Singapore Premier League. 8 matches played in less than a week, and that's coughed up so many talking points. We have Rhysh Roshan Rai here who's going to discuss those talking points and give you a lowdown on what to look ahead to the weekend. But before that, let's have a look at the league table. So the Lion City Sailors have climbed to the top of the league, 1 point ahead of Tanjong Pagar, who managed to snatch a last-minute draw against Tampines Rovers. Balestier Culture, with just their second win of the season, they're up to 5th, and that win against Hougang means that Hougang dropped to 7th in the standings. So here's what's coming up for the weekend. It's a top-of-the-table clash in the SPL on Saturday. Lion City Sailors play Tanjong Pagar United. Tampines Rovers and Albrechts Negata also clash at the same day at the same time. On Sunday, Hougang United play Young Lions in 7th versus 8th, and Geylang International take on Balestier Culture. So some absolutely cracking games to look forward to. Let's start with Lion City Sailors up against Tanjong Pagar United. Roshan, the Sailors have blown hot and cold this season. They haven't quite hit their stride, but they're still top of the league right now. And they also have the AFC Champions League coming up. What hasn't quite clicked for the Sailors?
Yeah, it's kind of funny and a bit weird to sort of say this, that we're talking about the Sailors in that sense. You know, the top of the table, as you mentioned, they've also won 3 of the last 4 matches. They're unbeaten in 4, and they go into this as, I would think, favourites as well, based on the quality of the squad that they have. But I think it's because we expect so much from the Sailors. What we haven't seen is them sort of really dominating the opposition and showing fluidity and good balance and a nice sort of flowing style of football from this Lion City Sailor side. But again, having said that, I mean, result is king in the business, and they're picking up those wins, they're picking up the points, which then sort of buys them time and buys Kim Do-hoon time as well to sort of implement the style of play that he actually wants, and it gives them time to implement that fluidity within their own performances. So, when you're getting those results, you can always sort of say, we're top of the table, we're doing the business, we're getting the job done, and while we're picking up those results, we can slowly start to then put in little aspects into our performances that, might live up to the expectations that people have of them out there.
Well, Tanjong Pagar, their opponents for this week, they've been punching way above their weight. They picked up an impressive draw at Tampines as well. Before we speak about Tanjong Pagar, let's have a listen to what their head coach Hazrin Jalani had to say after that game.
The set pieces we have been working it on our training session. So today is the beautiful part. Today is, I think we created a lot of chances, but we convert maybe 3. Only the last minute we scored. So I mean, it's a well-deserved draw for us. Well, as you know right now, I think Tanjong Pagar, for us, we're gonna fight till the end. Any teams that play Tanjong Pagar 90 minutes or 95 minutes, I think we'll put in that extra mile for us to run, and that the team shows that. I think every game is going to be the same.
So Hazrin highlighting the mentality of this Tanjong Pagar team. Roshan, what has impressed you about the way they've approached their games?
I mean, he said it right there. The mentality has been incredible from Tanjong Pagar. They just refuse to accept that they'll be beaten in matches. They refuse to lie down and lose games. I mean, the way they reacted to going 3 goals down against Tampines. I thought the game was done and dusted when Van Huysen scored a 3rd goal for Tampines Rovers, and it should have been. Tampines should have seen the game out. But Tanjong Pagar, I mean, to their credit, they use their strengths well, which was their physicality, which they have, the set-piece situations, and the fact that they always fight in these matches. You can see that at times they might lack a little bit of quality on the ball, but that mentality really sort of comes through that Tanjong Pagar side. And when you look at the likes of Blake Rishuto, going to crunching tackles in the midfield, when you see Raihan putting himself about, Farid as well, who's a good leader at the club. When you look at players like that, the experience that they bring and the fight that they bring, it's always going to be difficult and tricky for opposition coming up against them.
Well, so we can expect a crunching game, Sailors versus Tanjong Pagar. Well, Tanjong Pagar, we of course mentioned, they drew against Tampines. Tampines are in action against Albrechts Negata on Saturday as well. 2 sides who really like to keep the ball. Tampines under Gavin, playing the Gavin ball kind of football. They have a lot of the ball, Tampines.
They do.
But going forward, do you think they lack perhaps that final bite?
No, I don't think that's going forward. I don't think there's anything really wrong with them in possession. I think actually that's really a good aspect of their game. You can see clearly what the patterns are. Yes, it's passing out from the back, but there's a lot of rotation in terms of the positions, especially in the midfield. You see players dropping into different areas to receive, to then occupy a different space further up the pitch. At times you see the left back whether it's Amirul or it's Irwan, dropping in field as well into those central areas in possession of the ball. So they create opportunities in possession. They look really good. The big problem for them and what's really cost them is at the back. And they've been leaking those goals, Abhi. You know, when you look at the fact that they conceded 3 against Tanjong Pagar in a very short period of time in that game. They conceded 2 against Geylang as well, 5 goals from the last 2 matches. The fact that they weren't able to hold on to the win in this game, where they were in control for large parts of it, is a huge disappointment. And when you look at Tanjong Pagar's goals from the set pieces, you'll see that a majority of the set pieces that Tanjong Pagar had in this game, the forced balls that were played into the box were won by Tanjong Pagar players. That cannot happen. It cannot happen. I don't remember a time when I've seen a team so dominant over another in set piece situations. You know, you win the first ball almost all the time, and the second ball as well. And once you're losing the first balls and the second balls, that puts your defense under a lot of pressure. It puts your goalkeeper under a lot of pressure. And they just weren't able to deal with the physicality and the set piece threat that Tanjong Pagar were able to pose. And that is something defensively that they need to be concerned about going forward as well. Because attacking, no problem, but that defensive balance is just all over the place at the moment. Coaches, teams can play however they want to play, but you also need to understand that the opposition, you can't control how they play. You have to react to that in situations. And whether you're a passing side, whether you're this ball, that ball, whatever ball you want to call it, whatever fancy name you want to call it, there will be moments in football matches where you need to suffer, where you need to struggle, and you need to fight. And that needs to come into their game. And that needs to be the next stage of their development.
Well, they face an Albrecht side this week who also like to keep the ball. They create so many chances. They have had 126 shots on goal. 39% of the shots have been on target, and they've managed to score 15 goals, which is the second highest in the league. Roshan, is it fair looking at the stats to say that they've been wasteful? Because based on statistics alone, it might not tell that story, but when you watch them play, you can tell that they should be scoring so many more goals. Yeah,
they do create lots of chances, and that's why I'm excited for this game. You know, Tampines against Albrecht. I think they're two sides who are good with the ball, good in possession, good at creating chances. And with Albrecht, I thought they were over it. I thought when they, scored those goals that they did against Balestier and the Young Lions that they were over that. But, 3 consecutive draws now, they just haven't been able to really fully punish teams and kill off the opposition and really take the 3 points in situations where they should do. And they haven't been able to control games as well in terms of scoring first, but allowing the opposition at some point to get themselves back into the match. And we saw evidence of that against Geylang once again. Against
Geylang, we saw the likes of Tadanari Lee. You expect a lot more quality from him. What do you think is the message going down the Albrecht's team right now?
For Tadanari Lee, I think when he came in as well, I certainly had some doubts. The fact that his age is one thing, but coming into to play in Singapore as well is difficult. He has to adjust to different elements, and the fact that he wasn't really scoring goals before coming over. But it seems that his role now is more of that creator, and he can still use his game intelligence to help the side. Maybe his finishing hasn't been quite up to mark. He had a couple of great opportunities against Geylang, but now he's more of that creator. He drops off and plays runners through. I think that's where they're sort of going with this. And again, they do create chances. You just have to work on that element of finishing the game off now, keeping their composure in those key moments, and I think they'll start to win matches then.
Well, Hougang play Young Lions on Sunday. This is a game which is crucial for both sides, 7th versus 8th. Hougang really struggling this season.
Yeah, and this is a disappointing one for me, and I think it's something that we need to talk about a little bit because I had them pegged as title challengers this campaign. And when you look at the squad, I think they should be. I think they're really underachieving. Only 1 win this season so far, without a win in their last 3 matches, 2 defeats in that time. So really, I mean, when you look at the playing style that they're trying to implement, it hasn't worked out for them at all in that sense. And perhaps it's a situation where players are still getting adjusted to it. And this is sort of, you look at Hougang's situation where they are trying to implement a new playing style. It's not quite working out and they're not getting the results. That puts added pressure on the team as compared to Lion City Sailors, who, as we've said, perhaps not playing well, but still getting the wins. And that relieves that pressure. That gives you time to put in, as a coach, the kind of tactics that you want, the kind of performances that you want. And Hougang are under pressure because they haven't been able to get those results. So I'm a little bit confused as well as to what's going on there. Is it a case of too many sort of coaches in the background and wanting to implement certain things, and maybe there's a situation there where one coach wants to impart a certain idea and another doesn't think it's quite happening, or it's the player still adjusting to that style of play? Whatever it is, it's something that they need to sort out very quickly because it's not working for them at the moment.
Well, they face a Young Lions side who are also preparing for the upcoming SEA Games. What has impressed you about the Young Lions so far this season?
I mean, the Young Lions, they have certain elements to their game that's a lot of fun to watch. Young players who aren't afraid to go out against bigger and better opposition and show what they can do and express themselves. So that aspect of it, that's enjoyable to see. And they do have good quality in the ball. Certain players in there who have really good quality with the ball and can create trouble, can create problems. It's just been tough for them. It's a team of young players. They make individual errors at times, and that has cost them in situations. I don't think structurally, at times the way that they set up, I don't think there's too much wrong with it, but they do sort of have a lot of mistakes that come into their game, and that's really what has hurt this Young Lions side.
Well, the other game on Sunday, Geylang versus Balestier. Geylang, they've impressed with their football so far this season, and a lot of it has been down to their striker, Simi Zuzul. How good and how important is he to this Geylang side, and what does he bring for Noali?
Oh man, Simi Zuzul is just outstanding, and he's that one-man battering ram up front, an absolute machine of a striker who can do it all on his own. We've seen that with Balestier, and we're now seeing it with Geylang as well. I think even Noali has spoken about Simi Zuzul and how he's perhaps the best striker he's worked with. And the thing about Zuzul as well, aside from that brilliant goal that he scored against Albirex, where he essentially, it wasn't working for Geylang at that point, and he essentially took the ball and said, I'm going to do this on my own. And he did, and he scored. Excellent. Aside from his work rate up front, his defensive work rate as well is brilliant. For a forward player, he helps to press, he helps to close down, he helps to win back. Have a look at the number of times that he wins possession back for his side, or he charges down a defender and blocked an attempted clearance. So important, incredibly important to Geylang. And again, he's one of those players where if perhaps things aren't really going to plan on the pitch on that night, on that match, you can sort of play it into him and know that you've got a good chance of getting something out of Simi Zuzul.
Well, Zuzul obviously facing his former club, in the form of Balestier Khalsa. They also have the worst defensive record in the league this season. What have you made of the way that they've set up defensively?
I think it's been tough. There's not enough protection for that defense. The defense looks disorganized at times, players stepping out when they shouldn't be, and then the line is not very good, not understanding what their roles and responsibilities are in certain situations. And again, individual mistakes coming in, simple situations where a player is perhaps losing his marker in the penalty area, and easily when there's not really much movement, perhaps a lot too much ball watching in those defensive situations. So, I mean, it's quite easy when you look at the games to pinpoint where the errors are defensively. They're a little bit too open, disorganized in those situations. But again, I come back to it, the fact that they do have the Japanese trio up front, Hoshino, Kondo, and Taniguchi. So much quality there, and again, it's a situation where just get it into them, get it to those front three, and let them try and do the damage up front.
So let's see if they can do the damage indeed. There's so many games to look forward to, so many good games to look forward to, but this is our match of the week. It's the Lion City Sailors up against Tanjong Pagar from the Jalan Besar Stadium. Join John Dykes and Shashi Kumar. Coverage begins from 8 p.m. as we bring you all the pre-match build-up. So lots of exciting football to look forward to. Hope you guys enjoyed, Roshan. Hope you enjoy the weekend as well. We'll see you next time. Take care.